The Five Nights at Freddy's movie has been one of the most anticipated movies of 2023 ever since they revealed the release date. 8 years in development and passing through multiple writers and producers because people kept leaving the project, the movie didn't actually start filming until February of this year and finishing filming in April. They're releasing on October 27th to very mixed reviews. It is impossible to know if the movie's good or not unless you've watched it. Because even when I watched the movie with my friends, we all had completely different ratings of the film at the end. And it boggles my mind so much that I kind of just have to make this video so that I can explain why I feel that the Five Nights at Freddy's movie is kind of a mess. Now, first off, I'd like to say that the visuals, cinematography, acting, set pieces, music, costume design, and sound design was all great. I don't think I have a single problem with any of those. Where the problem lies in this movie is solely in the writing. Oh my god, the writing is so messy that while I was watching this, I was writing this script as I was watching it in the cinema. That's never happened to me before. I've never gone to the cinema and had this experience before. I went to the movie with high hopes and high expectations, and I left the movie feeling like I just visited a restaurant and there were rats crawling on the wall, and everybody else with me keeps telling me that I don't get it. There's rats on the wall! They fell in my soup! But enough stalling. Let's unpack why this movie is both good, but also kind of bad, which results in the confusing, divisive, and messy mess that is the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Oh my god! So the Fnaf movie follows our main character Mike, who's been taking care of his little sister Abby after Mike and Abby's parents both died. Mike is working as a security guard at a mall when he sees a guy that takes a kid in a hurry and is seemingly kidnapping him, which prompts Mike to go feral mode and tackle a man into a fountain and beat the shit out of him. But that man was just that kid's dad, so Mike gets fired. It's kind of a miracle that he didn't get charged, since he literally just assaulted a man in front of his kid and also got his suit wet. So rude. Mike then goes to a career counselor named Steve Raglan, and he's Shaggy from Scooby-Doo! Steve basically tells Mike that he's a loser and that he can't hold a job for very long, so his options are going to be very limited. So Mike starts to leave when Steve tells him he's got a job for him.
It's a security gig. Full disclosure, it's not great, right? High turnover, that's what we call in the business, but you get to be your own boss, sort of. And you only have to worry about one thing.
But Mike says he can't do nights, so he leaves, but not before he gets a business card, just in case he changes his mind. Mike then goes home and talks to the babysitter named Max, and she wants someone to buy her a ring.
I wish someone would buy me a ring.
I don't know why she says that. It's so random and never comes into play later on in the story, so it's just a random thing she says. Future Gusta here, I'm eating crackers, and I realize now that maybe it's because she wants material objects. She wants money. He wants money! Maybe that's why. So yeah, that's maybe why. Mike then goes to Abby's room and she's drawing.
What do we got? Okay. Well, that good-looking guy I recognize.
Then we get to this part where we learn about Mike's sleeping ritual, where he makes himself have the same dream every single night, where he goes back to the day in his life where he's with his family outside when his brother Garrett gets kidnapped. Mike is using this dream to try to see a man that kidnapped his brother and has been trying to do so for a very long time. Hence why earlier he said he can't do nights, because he wants to have this dream every night. We then see Abby at school while Mike and his aunt are talking to the principal. The aunt wants to have custody of Abby and says Mike is unfit to have a child since he just beat a random dad at a mall, which is actually pretty valid. But then she calls Abby mentally ill because she draws and has imaginary friends.
Like I've said before, Abby is not mentally ill.
Oh, right.
Then the aunt's lawyer, who looks like he's seeing a ghost at all times, gives Mike a contract to sign to move custody of Abby to the aunt. Mike then talks to the principal in private, and she advises Mike that he should get a job to have a stronger case if he did actually go to court for Abby's custody, which prompts Mike to call Steve again and take the job at
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Mike arrives and, okay, to be honest here, I just want to mention again how impressive and cool the set looks. The attention to detail of the pizzeria is actually really cool. Like the Celebrate poster on the wall in the security room, you know, the one where if you press the nose, it makes a noise. The actual pizzeria itself, the stage and everything, it's just really cool to see on the big screen. Mike wanders around the pizzeria and then sees the first glimpse at the Freddy gang, and they look perfect! I mean, the design of the animatronics is spectacular. They're basically one-to-one with their game counterparts, and I think that's fucking cool! Also, this part of the movie, when Mike is in the pizzeria, is really good at building tension and being really spooky. The atmosphere is muddy, dark, and decrepit, and really feels like you're in the same place as the game. Mike then goes to sleep and has the Garrett kidnapping dream again, except this time, kids appear. Uh-oh, well now it's a nightmare. I hate kids. Mike asks if they saw who took his brother, and the kids all run away, and Mike chases after one of them and then trips on a rock. And that was Mike's first night at Freddy's. We then cut to Mike's aunt at a diner with Max, the babysitter, and then Matt Pat from the video Beware Shrek's Fatal Stench. Yes! This is where it's revealed that Max was hired by Mike's aunt to spy on Mike and get incriminating evidence on him, but she hasn't found anything. So Max's brother gets an idea that they could trash the pizzeria that Mike works at to get Mike fired and hence make him look worse to the judge. Mike is back at the pizzeria dozing off and having that dream again, and the kids show up again and run away, except this kid slices him with a hook hand. And then... oh no, he got some ink in his eyes. Poor guy. Let me clean that up, buddy. There you go. Mike then wakes up to all the lights flickering, so he turns the power off and on again, and then he sees that someone is at the door. This is where we meet Vanessa. She's a cop and sees that Mike is bleeding, so she comes in and patches his arm and tells him that she used to love this place as a kid. Vanessa then turns on the lights and make the animatronics perform a fucking banger of a song. Then she asks Mike to dance, and as soon as that happens, Bonnie comes. She then says something about missing kids, and Mike asks about it, and she says that back in the 80s, some kids went missing, and that's why the place shut down. Then it's morning, and as Mike leaves, Max, her brother, and his gang break into the pizzeria so they can make a mess. But as they do, they get attacked by the Freddy gang. This guy runs away after seeing his friend making out with a cupcake while Chica watches, and for some reason he runs into a janitor closet instead of just leaving the building, and of course he dies. Then the brother runs into the security office and looks at the monitor, and this part is hilarious for some reason. I can't explain it. It just looks so goofy. The brother runs away and then gets killed by Foxy, and then Max comes in looking for them.
Hey, follow me.
What the kid doing there? Max follows a random kid into the back rooms. No, not those. Normal ones. And she then hears a kid's voice saying, "Warmer," and sees Freddy Fazbear, and this fucking idiot does the stupidest thing I've ever seen a person do. She just checks Freddy's gums.
Oh, Freddy needs to brush his teeth. Freddy, you gotta floss.
We're back at Mike's place when Vanessa shows up and tells Mike that somebody broke into Freddy's, and she shows Mike the pills he's been taking to fall asleep. So she warns Mike that he's liable to criminal negligence. And then they just go on a walk and Mike trauma dumps. Then Vanessa tells him not to sleep on the job anymore and she leaves. Mike tries to call Max to come babysit Abby, but she's not answering because she's busy. So Mike is forced to take Abby with him to work. Mike then falls asleep again and something enters the office. Someone whispers her name, and then Mike wakes up to find Abby gone. He runs after her, and we see the Freddy gang surrounding her, and then...
Mike? They wouldn't stop tickling me. It's okay, Mike. They just want to play.
I didn't know you were chill like that. This is the part where this movie just completely stops being a horror because the animatronics are chill now. So there's no more fear factor with them. The first half of this movie is a 16+ cinematic horror movie with tension and grittiness. And then the second half is just a fun PG-13 action movie. It's a weird direction for the movie to make the characters not scary anymore because in the games, they're horrific and scary. And then in this movie, they're just chill and vibing. They stop being portrayed as monsters and more like the kids' souls in the animatronics, which is a interesting direction to go, but Anyways, Mike and Abby are back home now, and Mike looks at Abby's drawing to find the kids that he's been seeing in his dreams. And that's when he realizes that those kids are the souls inside of the animatronics. He asks Abby about it, and she's like, no duh, Sherlock, have a brain. Mike is making soup, perhaps with some rats in them, when he brings up Garrett to Abby to try to see if the Freddy gang told Abby anything about who might have taken him. She says no, but she says she can ask, so they go back to the pizzeria. But then we see that Vanessa is inside the place admiring some great art when Mike and Abby show up, and they all just build a fort for no reason, and Bonnie dies. All semblance of horror is gone. This was the moment where the movie just jumped the shark and became a completely different movie. It's jarring how different this is from the beginning. And I think this jarring change could be attributed to the change in writers and producers over the 8 years of pre-production. Because this feels like it was written by a completely different person with a completely different vision. And up until this part, I thought this movie was like a 7.5 to a 8 out of 10. But the second half of this movie just goes downhill, in my opinion. Vanessa and Mike go into the storage room and find this doll animatronic, and Vanessa shows us how unstable the spring locks in the suit are, the mechanism that holds the animatronic parts in place. And then Mike asks Vanessa why she knows so much about this place, which Vanessa just dodges every time he asks, and then she advises Mike to leave with Abby and never come back. They then go back to find Abby grooving with a band, and then she goes on stage to strum Bonnie's guitar, and it explodes and knocks out Abby. Then we cut to Vanessa and Mike talking outside.
You can do whatever you want with your own life, but if you ever bring Abby back here again, I will shoot you.
Mike and Abby are back home again, and we see Mike call someone for help, and oh my god, it's the aunt. What the hell? Now you might think that Mike signed the papers to give the aunt custody. That's what Abby thinks, but actually, he only brought her here to babysit her while he goes to the pizzeria alone. Now, I'm going to try to explain something here that is not a big deal, but it's a hint of the grander problem with the writing in this movie. Abby says she hates Mike, and she storms into her room and she starts crossing his face out with a black pen. And this scene is completely useless. Usually with a scene like this, it's to foreshadow something, but in this case, it doesn't foreshadow anything. You would think that maybe this is to foreshadow a disdain for Mike and Abby. But no, in the next scene where they're together, they're completely chill. And this is never brought up again. Oh, well, then this is to foreshadow that Mike is gonna die, maybe. Spoiler alert. No, he doesn't. So why does this scene happen? There's no use to it. I know this is one scene and who cares, but it's still clear that whoever wrote this script didn't think too hard about it. A great script will add details in the beginning that seems random, and then at the end, it all falls into place and makes everything clear and makes sense. It wraps the story in a neat bow and makes everything make sense. And this movie fails to do that. And this is not just because of this one scene. There's more. Mike goes back to the pizzeria with new sleeping pills so he can fall asleep and talk to the ghosts. And to be fair, this transition into the dream is sick as hell. The spin around the head while he's engulfed in darkness because his only focus is the dream, and then the gradual lighting of his face as he enters the dream. As I said before, cinematography, mwah. Mike is now in the dream again, but it's different this time. His parents are like, hey, yo, what's up, Mike? What's up? And Garrett's like, yo, what's up, brother? And that's not what actually happened. So Mike is like, what the hell? But then the blonde boy tells him that he can have this dream with his family every night if they get Abby. And Mike agrees. But then immediately regrets it and takes it back, but it's too late. The kids are gone, and then they all start scratching him. How rude! And then Mike wakes up inside of this fucking saw trap, but he makes it out of it. Mike runs out and tries to escape, but then the door is locked, and Foxy shows up and seemingly catches him. We then come back to Abby and Aunt Jane. Aunt Jane is just watching some infomercials when we see... Golden Freddy! Abby comes out of her room and finds the blonde ghost there, and he tells her that the Fast Gang are waiting for her and they're gonna go play. And then we see Aunt Jane collapse on the floor.
Silly Aunt Jane. She fell asleep.
And Abby's just like, damn, aight. Sleepy. We then cut back to Mike and he's alive? Bro was stuck with no exits, got mauled by Foxy, and he only needs some stitches? What the fuck? Abby pulls up to the pizzeria, and Vanessa tells us what really happened back in the 80s. She tells us about a man in a yellow rabbit suit that would kill kids and stuff them in an animatronic suit so nobody could find the bodies.
The man who took them, he was a very bad man. Very cruel man. Also a very clever man. It's not just their ghosts that are inside of those machines. It's their bodies. You have to understand the kids, they don't want to hurt anyone. It's him. He influences them somehow. He took everything from them, but they don't remember.
Who, Vanessa?
His name is William Afton. He's my father.
So it turns out that William Afton is the man that kidnapped Garrett. And he even went so far as to give his daughter the plane that Garrett had when he kidnapped him, which is really cool and very spooky. Vanessa then reveals that the Fredbear gang's weakness is tasers, and Mike heads off to the pizzeria to save Abby. Then when Mike gets there, we hear that Vanessa told him to avoid the front entrance and to head into the vents for some reason. She doesn't explain why, and I can't really think of a reason other than maybe to be stealthy. So he's just told to die hard for the lols. Mike then sees Chica taking Abby to the back rooms. We see Chica try to force her into the springlock suit when Mike comes in and tases Chica in the eye. And then Mike is like, I'm gonna do better, I promise. And Abby is like,
Speaketh with action, not with words. It is rain that allows growth, not thunder.
What the fuck? Mike fights a cupcake and Abby hides from Foxy, and then Mike comes out and hears footsteps approaching him. Mike tries to tase him, but it has no effect, and then Springtrap just fucking super strength punches Mike. We then see Abby hiding from Foxy in the ball pit when Vanessa shows up and saves her. And then we get to the part of the movie where I was just rolling my eyes. So Springtrap punches Mike, and then he says this.
This is perfect. First I killed your brother. Now I kill you. Symmetry, my friend.
No subtlety, but that's okay. It makes it easier to understand what this character is in case anybody forgot. But then he knocks Mike out and he has a monologue where he makes the animatronics wake up again. And then he says Abby is gonna love it here, and he's about to kill Mike when Vanessa shows up and holds him at gunpoint. And then...
All for temper tantrums, are we, Vanessa?
I'm not kidding, Dad.
This twist was so annoying and unearned because all it does is raise questions and doesn't answer anything. But I'll explain a bit later. Vanessa shoots him, which results in him punching the gun out of her hand, and then he says,
You had one job. One. Keep him in the dark and kill him if he got too close.
That's 2 jobs.
After that, Abby starts drawing a picture of what William actually did to the kids to show the animatronics so they stop being on William's side. And William tries to stop her, but Vanessa doesn't let him, so he stabs her in the stomach. What the hell? Not cool, dude. Abby puts the drawing on the board and it's a masterpiece. The Fred gang then team up on William and he just insults them, and then the cupcake activates the spring locks and William dies. But not before he says...
Come back.
It's a reference to his catchphrase. How cool. Then the movie ends with everything resolved. The wretched bitch is dead. Vanessa is in the hospital and not dead. And Abby gets spaghetti and meatballs. So it's a very happy ending. But there are still a lot of questions that need to be asked. So Steve Raglan turns out to be William Afton, and this begs the question of why would William hire Mike to work at the pizzeria where William killed a bunch of kids and those kids' souls inhabit the animatronics of that pizzeria when William kidnapped and killed Mike's brother? What the fuck does William gain in this situation? He is bringing Mike to a place where he might actually figure out who William is. And for what? For Abby? Okay, sure. But why specifically Abby? He could have hired any other man with a kid in the hopes that he would bring their kid to work one day so they can get that kid. But even if William specifically wanted Abby as his next victim, what the fuck was his plan? He never made any effort to make Mike bring Abby to work. It only happened because Mike's babysitter died because she really cares about Freddy's oral hygiene. Not because Max was lured into the pizzeria by some scheme made by William, but because of pure happenstance. Because of Mike's aunt wanting Abby. So then, what other reason could it be? Could it be because William wanted to kill Mike by hiring him at a pizzeria that people keep dying at to get rid of the man that is actively trying to find you? That's actually a good plan, but that's not what happened. If you recall from 1 minute ago, when Vanessa was holding a gun up to William, he said,
You had one job. One. Keep him in the dark and kill him if he got too close.
So William hired Mike at the pizzeria not to specifically kill him, but made Vanessa come and make sure that he doesn't find anything out, and only then kill him if he does. But then why give Mike the job in the first place? What's the motive? He's crazy, man. He just does things for fun. Okay. All William had to do was say something like,
I was expecting you to be dead by now. I thought for sure that you'd die in this place just like the rest of them, but for some reason they took mercy on you.
Who the hell?
Well then, I guess this is a job for me. Kick to the face.
that would make a little bit more sense than him just hiring him at the pizzeria for the lulz. I'm not a scriptwriter, but I feel like some line that would tie up loose ends would astronomically make this a better movie and make this twist make more There's no answer as to why William hired Mike, and it just left me leaving the cinema unsatisfied. I know it's a staple of the Fnaf games to have loose ends and mysteries for game theory to solve, but it's not the same for a movie. Not everybody watching this movie is a theorist who loves not getting answers. And this brings me to the point that my friend made on her way back home from the cinema, and that is, this movie wasn't made for you. That was the rebuttal he gave when me and my friends were talking about how messy the writing was and how confusing it was. This movie isn't made for you. If that's true, then who was this movie made for? Five Nights at Freddy's fans, right? Well, guess what? I am a Five Nights at Freddy's fan. I've watched every single Markiplier Let's Play of the FNAF games. I've watched countless MatPat theories. I've watched multiple hour-long videos talking about the entire lore of FNAF. I've played a lot of the games. I've listened to every single FNAF song by the Living Tombstones. I'm a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's, and I wanted to love this movie, but it's flawed in its writing. Another argument was when I talked about Max just taking a stool and putting her head into Freddy's mouth after hearing a creepy kid voice saying, "Warmer." And their argument was, horror movies be like that. Just because it's a popular trope in a horror movie doesn't make it not bad. If a trope exists in a movie that sucks, you don't just excuse it every time it happens. You hope that new movies do better than their predecessors and actually write a believable scenario. If she just walked a bit closer to look for the kid and Freddy just like took her and took a bite out of her, that would be believable and actually scary, because that's something a normal human being would do. The Max scene is not that scary because she kind of deserved that. You're not a dentist, Max. You don't have to care about a robot's oral health. I know this doesn't matter that much. I know that for a lot of people, you're just happy to be able to see your favorite characters on the big screen, to be able to catch all the references, and to have new FNAF media for MatPat to make a video about. That poor, poor man. But for me, I was disappointed. Because as a film, it failed to deliver a polished story. And here's the thing. I understand every single side of the reception of this movie. I understand the people that loved it, and I also understand the critics. As I've said before, the movie is incredibly well executed in its cinematography, visuals, acting, sound design, music, set dressing, and all the little details and references that are really cool for fans of the series. But I also really understand the critics because the writing is a messy fucking fuck. During the first half of this movie, I was feeling like a 7.5 to an 8 out of 10. But after the halfway mark, everything just started to crumble, and my rating of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie became a 5.5 out of 10. It's not bad. It's enjoyable and it's great fan service, but it could have been better. And I hope that if they do a sequel, they hire the writer that's really good at their job. And with that, I thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, then feel free to subscribe. It means a lot. So yeah, thank you. And I'll see you next time. Bye.